everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are around the world. It's a Dutch House of Monty shit show. It's been a hot minute, hasn't it? Can't believe it's been over a month since I've posted a video. I'm really sorry. Thank you for those that have asked if I'm okay. I will deal with that issue in a second. I was hoping to film on location today. I did go up to one of my favourite places in Sussex, the South Downs National Park. Not so stunning today, it's pretty cold and windy and muddy actually. I did go up there. The reality was that it was far too windy. There were dog walkers everywhere with whistles, and every time I tried to say something, either a whistle got in the way or the wind was howling, and it just wasn't feasible to make a video. So I came down to nearer sea level. And again, it's so windy down by the sea that I felt the only alternative is to do what I normally do and sit in my car. So apologies for that. As soon as I can get a better location, then I absolutely will do. So, so much to say. Firstly, I hope you are all doing okay. Thank you for bearing with me. I've been obviously posting almost daily on my community page, so I haven't entirely lost touch with the channel, but obviously filming content has not been a priority for me, and I will absolutely explain why. As many of you will know, in September things changed dramatically for my family, not in a bad way, but my eldest son passed all of his exams, all 8, and has gone off to college. He didn't quite settle in as quickly as I expected him to. He's doing much better now, but for the first 2 or 3 weeks he was very insecure, very unsure of himself. He is on a course with people that in some respects are much more accomplished, much more experienced, and he just became so insecure and pretty unhappy. So I needed to take some time away to get him into a good place. My daughter's now started her 2 last years of senior school, so these are GCSE exam years, so I needed to get her settled. She's doing really well. Now Clarky. If you saw Clarky's recent appearance on Avid Gardeners Live, I'm sorry. That was something special, wasn't it? Clarky's doing well. He's doing really well. Obviously we had his big ear operation. I'm pleased to say that we were told a couple of weeks ago that the operation seems to have been successful, and they are cautiously optimistic that that's the last surgery. They can't rule out more. It really depends on whether any more holes open up in his eardrums, and nobody can predict yes or no, so we've just got to hope that that's the last operation he'll need. But he's started senior school now. He's absolutely hit the ground running. He is absolutely taken to secondary school, high school, like a duck to water. I mean, he's got or September he was nominated Student of the Month, and these are out of about 400 or 500 students. Student of the Month for PE in October, and no, beg your pardon, September. And then last week he was nominated Student of the Month for October for Performing Arts, so he's really getting on well. Unfortunately, and I did mention a little bit on Avid Gardeners Live last week, and I also went into a bit more detail with Avid Gardener Fiona after the live had finished, so she really knows what the depth of what's going on. Clark has unfortunately experienced some bullying. I don't like to use the word bullying, but there really is no other way you can describe it. There have been a few incidents with other students who are maybe not so tolerant that they could be of Clark. I mean, the school are great, don't get me wrong, the school are really trying to get on top of this, and touch wood, there's been no incidents in the last couple of weeks, so I'm hoping everything has calmed down. But I have to admit, that took me the 3-4 weeks of constant phone calls, emails, somebody's done this to Clark and somebody's done that to Clark. I mean, just one incident, we had to get his hearing aid replaced because somebody took it upon themselves to squirt water into his ear, and of course it got into the hearing aid and damaged it. There was no need for them to do that, but obviously with people like that, they obviously have a reason, whatever that may be. Another incident, he was kicked in the stomach, I'm sorry to say. He did retaliate. I have to say, he stood up for himself pretty well, and luckily the school were great. There were no sanctions for Clark because it was in self-defense. Had he instigated it, had he provoked this person into doing something, then school would have probably, I'm sure, taken a different approach. But because it was unprovoked, and because Clark was hurt and then kind of retaliated, the school didn't sanction Clark in any way. They've given us lots of support at home, which I'm grateful for. And the other thing is, I've gone back to college. I'm doing teaching assistant training, which is tough going, actually. You think you know how to teach children, think again. Everything you thought you knew goes right out the window. It's hard work, but it's lots of fun. So I'm now, I think, several weeks in, doing well. That was a shock, me going back into education as well. So it's just been trying to get myself settled into a new routine, and obviously 3 other children, 2 of which have experienced some kind of issues, settling into their new placements. So it really has been a case of stepping back and trying to get my family in order, my little ducks in a row, before, thinking about my other baby, this channel, and you guys. But I haven't forgotten about you all, I really haven't. The other thing to tell you, well, is the chemotherapy tablets that I was taking for my arthritis, I'm now totally free. I begged them to take me off them because the chemotherapy is just vile, if I'm honest. But because I've now withdrawn from the treatment, and they haven't yet found something to replace it, the arthritis is back with a vengeance. I've had a massive flare-up in my hands, particularly, in my legs, in my knees. So I'm kind of back and forth to the hospital at the moment, trying to get that sorted. Anyway, that's enough of my drama. So, I'm back. Not sure how much time I can devote to the channel at the moment, but I will do what I can when I can. So, where do I start? I'm not going to delve too much into Spare because it's been done to death and will continue to be done to death until at least January. January 10th is the release date, or the expected release date, which is the day after the Princess of Wales's birthday, which I don't think is a coincidence. Some of you don't agree, some of you think it's just, the publishers have demanded that. I've got my own theories on that, but moving on. So, a couple of things that, I did want to say, and this is kind of off the back of Fiona's Avid Gardener's latest video that I actually watched this morning, which was brilliant, by the way. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out. And what struck me was what she was saying about how Harry is just a chronic, perpetual whinger, if I'm being completely honest. How it's not fair. His life is not fair. Now, I'm not saying losing your mum. I lost my mum 3 years ago, and it was absolutely horrific. And that was when I was 38. It was horrific, so I can't imagine for 1 second what it must have been like as a 12-year-old boy to lose your mum so tragically, because at least with my mum we had about a week's inkling that it was probably going to end only the one way. So we had a week to try and get things said and done, if you want to call it that. So I absolutely agree with Fiona that what Harry and William went through, and on the world stage as well, with the whole world watching, it was so horrific and so traumatic for them, and I would never take that away from them, for sure. But it's interesting the way the two men have gone. You have Harry, who's now capitalising on it, obviously much more so since the wife came along. William will do anything in his power to shut down any capitalisation on his mother's death. The Panorama interview, you know, the BBC, William's not afraid to speak out where necessary, whereas Harry invites it in a way, and then complains about it. You can't have it both ways. You're either in, it's like the monarchy, you're either in or you're out. You can't have part-time this and a part-time that. That just isn't the way it works. Which kind of got me thinking to a couple of situations in my life. I mean, you know, I saw the recent article with Scooby-Doo, and I have to laugh at the blurb around Spare. Raw, unflinching honesty. Yeah. No, it's not going to be. Well, you and I both know it's not going to be honest in any capacity. And it got me thinking. I mean, I've always tried to navigate this channel and try to steer this channel into a direction where I share a little bit about my life to you guys, because I feel it helps you to relate to me. There's nothing worse than when you follow a YouTuber or you follow somebody in the public eye and you can't relate to them. I mean, you follow them because you like what they appear to stand for, and you like the message they're trying to convey, or you like their style, etc, etc. But for me, I find if I can relate in some way to that person, all the better. So I try and give you little bits of my life, like I've just explained to you the absolute truth of why I've been away for a month, the bullying of my son, the sort of shock of me going back into education at my age, and, you know, trying to get my eldest son happy. It put me into quite a tailspin, honestly, where I got myself into a bit of an emotional funk, and I couldn't seem to pull myself out of it for a couple of weeks. It didn't matter what I tried, I just couldn't seem to get myself off the floor. I'm feeling much better. I'm still not quite there, but I'm feeling much better, enough to certainly come and make a video for sure. But yeah, so if you want raw, unflinching honesty, here it is. Do I think it's fair that my parents were and are blind? No, I don't. Do I think it's fair that my mum, I mean, by the time she died, she'd had, I mean, she was blind, she was deaf, she'd had a stroke, so she was paralysed from the chest down. She couldn't talk very well, she couldn't swallow. Do I think that's fair? The poor woman, she suffered so much. Do I think that's fair? No, I don't. Do I think it's fair that, you know, in the late 80s, when I was just a youngster, my gran got crushed between a car and a brick wall? A drunk driver had got in his car and sped along a road, swerved onto the pavement and just crashed into my nan and squished her against a brick wall. I mean, don't get me wrong, she has passed away, but she didn't pass away from that incident. But for the next, I'd say the next 15 years that she went on, I mean, her body was shattered. She had so many operations and metal pins and plates. You name it, that poor lady had it. Do I think that's fair? No. Do I think it's fair that Clark has to have all these operations? No, I don't. But what I don't do is whinge and moan. I don't think it's fair that all my loved ones seem to have all these things go wrong with them. I don't think it's fair at all. But you don't see me trying to go on TV and capitalise on that, and you don't see me writing books or ghost writing books about it. No. But I'm prepared to share that information as and when, if I feel it's relevant to the cause. So somebody's just walked past me and given me a strange look, like talking to myself. Yeah, no, I don't feel that's fair at all, but that is life. You know, sometimes things aren't fair, and it really is down to you, down to the individual, on how you deal with it. In my opinion, Harry has really not dealt with this very well. I don't buy the narrative whatsoever that he's never had therapy, or he didn't have access to a therapist, and the same with Meghan. I don't buy that for 1 minute. I think it's a total piece of nonsense. I was going to swear, but which, you know, actually leads me on to the next thing. Somebody asked me if I was keeping up with the plopcasts on a Tuesday. No, I'm not, for two reasons. One, because Tuesday is my main day at college. Any other day I'm in college is like an extra, but Tuesdays are my day to be in college. Secondly, I watched the first 3 or 4. I reviewed them, so you didn't have to. You're welcome. But I got bored. There's no other way to say it. I got bored, and there are things I am willing to do, you know, for the sake of this channel, but I couldn't carry on. I'm so sorry, I couldn't. But I have been sort of keeping informed as to what's going on. Obviously, I read it on Twitter, I read it on YouTube, I see it on YouTube, I see it in the papers, so I'm still kind of up together with what's going on. And it just seems that every plopcast, every week, she says something and it's instantly disproved, or someone comes out and disproves it with receipts, and it's just brilliant. She really hasn't got a clue, has she? So yeah, so no, I mean, like the B word, for example, boring, bland, bimbo, bitch, whatever you want to call her, I'm just not going there with the plopcasts anymore. I'll leave that to the other YouTubers. So as for the future of this channel, I am still here. I will still carry on as long as you guys want me to. But the reality is, with college and with helping Clark with his homework, he's getting homework thick and fast now, and it's obviously secondary school homework, which is incredibly difficult for him. So I do have to spend a lot of time with him, but the channel will continue as much as you want it to. It's your channel, it's not my channel, it's our channel. Any feedback I do try to pick up on, I do try to action. But before I go, and I cannot let this go, I have to talk about it. Lots of you have been asking about I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, so, and all this Mike Tindall business. So if you're not from Britain, I'm not sure if you can watch it in Australia or America, I'm not sure which other countries it's shown in, but here in Britain we have 2 presenters called Ant and Dec. Now, they started off, they met in like the late 80s, early 90s. They met, or they were actors, child actors, on a show called Biker Grove, which was, if you're old like me, you'll remember it. Biker Grove was an English teen drama, if you want to call it that. It's centred around a youth club in Newcastle in the north of England. And it was just the thing to watch. If you were a teenager in the 90s, you had to watch Biker Grove or Grange Hill, which was a school, kind of teen school drama thing. And so their characters were called PJ and Duncan, and, you know, after they both left, I mean, they met on set, and Ant and Dec became the best of friends. They moved on from Biker Grove. They then tried, actually they were really quite successful. They tried a pop career as PJ and Duncan, their character names from Biker Grove, and they were actually very successful. They had quite a few hits. Obviously the most famous being Let's Get Ready to Rumble. Absolutely love it. But then for the last, I don't know, 30 years, 25, I don't even know, 30 years thereabouts, Ant and Dec have presented many shows together. Saturday Night Takeaway, Britain's Got Talent, they still do that one. They've done hundreds of things over the years, adverts together. But yeah, so they always do every year, every November, we have a show called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Now the premise is that you put usually about 12 or so celebrities, could be anyone from the acting profession, the music industry, politicians, like ex-actors, somebody who's trying to revive their career, or somebody who really needs the money. You put them all together in a jungle for like 3 weeks with virtually no food, and they have to do loads of trials with creepy crawlies, and yeah, it's really fascinating to watch if you're that way inclined, if you like reality TV like I do. So this year they've put in Mike Tindall, the husband of Zara Phillips, who is married to the King's niece. And he's proving to be quite the hit. I have to admit, I didn't really know much about him. Obviously I knew who he was. He represented our country at rugby some time ago. And I knew he was married into the royal family, but I didn't really know much about him. So I've been watching this series so far. I think we're only on day 4. I've been watching it with interest, and he's proving to be quite the hit here in Britain. I mean, if you're watching it, you'll know exactly what I mean. If you don't watch it, I'll try and explain. So all these celebrities have now gone in the jungle, and Mike is absolutely fearless. He did a task where he had to swim underwater, under this like kind of swamp, like this really dirty, stinky swamp, and he had to swim under, and then when he come up, he had to be under like this boat thing and get some stars or keys or whatever. And he had big spiders, let me tell you, huge spiders. Like one was like right on the side of his head, and he was just like, meh. If that was me, I'd be screaming the bloody house down. I really would. And one of the other celebrities, a guy called Owen, who I'll tell you about Owen in a second, he's sweet. Owen was like, you've got a spider on your head, and Mike's like, yeah. And he kind of goes like this, and I think he kind of obliterated the spider, because the majority of the spider fell off when Mike did that, but one leg was kind of like still hanging. And then Mike was the only one who was able to get a campfire going, so they've nicknamed him Magic Mike. So if you see like hashtag Magic Mike, that's what that's about. Also, I've started to call him Vanilla Mike, because he has an extraordinary talent for rapping, 90s rap. Who knew? The campmates were round the fire the other day, and the conversation got round to music, I suppose because Boy George is in there as well. He's another one I'm fascinated by. Although George is proving to be a little bit divisive. He's lovely, don't get me wrong, but he's starting to rebel against a couple of people in the camp, so he's going to be one to provide some drama, I think. But they were talking about music, and Mike was saying that he could do the Vanilla Ice rap word for word. And everyone was like, nah, you can't prove it. And he absolutely did. It was absolutely incredible. If you can find it on YouTube, I don't know if it's on YouTube yet, but if you can find it, I definitely would seek it out. So there's me in the background. I'm sort of in the car, in the house, going like this, you know, Mike, baby, den 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 den. Mike, baby. It's so funny. And then he launched into a word perfect Boom Shake the Room by Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. That was word perfect. So you've got myself and Clarky in the room going boom, shake the room. It was absolutely incredible. So he's one of the loveliest guys. Certainly in this series, I think he will do really well, because he's a team player. He gets stuck in. He seems to be fearless. He hasn't done any of the Bush Tucker trials at the moment. So hopefully we'll get to see him in action in the next couple of days or so. But he's absolutely fearless. I absolute respect to the man. A few people on the channel, I have to say this actually while I'm thinking about it, a few people on the channel have commented that it's probably not appropriate for him as a member of the royal family to go into a reality show. Now, each to their own. You absolutely have the right to your opinion, and you absolutely have the right to express your opinion. I'm just going to put it out here and now. I personally don't agree, and I'll tell you why. I think with all the drama that's happened, certainly since Meghan came into the royal family, and obviously since Megxit, the continual attacks on the monarchy and the attacks on the British public, and you know how we are viewed by the rest of the world that obviously don't understand British humour, British culture, who are happy to just take what Meghan says, and Harry to some extent, at face value. I feel sorry for those people. If you cannot listen to both sides without making like an informed choice, if you just have to listen and act upon the first person you hear, I feel sorry for you. There's no hope for you guys, really. But yeah, so oh goodness me, chemo brain. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, so with everything that's happened, and especially with the Queen going, can you believe that was 2 months ago? 2 months ago yesterday, in fact. Oh, it seems like much longer, I tell you. I think this is what's needed. Mike Tindall is absolutely the tonic that can bring a little bit of cheer back to the country, and a little bit of pride in a sense, because our country lately has taken such a bashing with the Queen going, and then obviously the government just, you know, the last Prime Minister was only in power for 44 days, and now we had this other idiot take over. And I have nothing against Rishi Sunak, I just want to point that out. Whoever this country has or elects, we're going to be screwed anyway, so I've got nothing against the guy. But I think Mike Tindall is the absolute tonic, and can represent Britain and show the world that we are nice people. We do have a great sense of humour, even if you're, you know, aristocratic or in the royal family. Yeah, I think he could absolutely turn some opinions around on us as Brits. And let's not forget, it's not the royal family's first foray into reality TV. I mean, I never saw it, but back in the day, my parents told me about it. Back in the day, there was a show called It's a Knockout, which I believe, I mean, if you're a little bit older than me, I'm in my early 40s. I think if you're a little bit older than me, you would remember this. But I think It's a Knockout used to be like families or close friends. They would do challenges outside, or some obstacle courses or something like that. And I believe there was an episode of Royal, It's a Knockout. And I don't know, please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Edward, possibly Princess Anne, were in it. And from what I hear, it was an absolute disaster. And it was actually quite embarrassing. Now, I haven't seen it, so I can't say for sure. But that's what I heard. But yeah, I absolutely think Mike is relatable. I mean, he is one of us, but first and foremost, he was one of us. He even said on his one of his little stories that he told around the campfire the other night was how he met Zara back in 2003, 2004. He was dropped from the semi-finals of the, I don't know, the Rugby World Cup or something like that. And two other players who'd also been dropped from the squad took him to, they were in Sydney, Australia, and they took him to a bar to sort of console him, really. And these two guys already knew Zara, so they sort of introduced Mike and Zara. And on their first date, they got absolutely hammered, smashed, drunk, whatever you want to call it, which I think is brilliant, actually. I mean, that's not something I would do. I can't drink, but yeah, it's just so relatable, isn't it? I mean, how did you two meet? We got drunk, which I think is just brilliant. But I saw, I don't know if it's a tweet or an article from Angela Levin, which normally, actually, I quite admire what she says the majority of the time, but I really didn't agree with something I read recently, I think yesterday, that she was saying that it's an embarrassment. Mike is an embarrassment to the country, and it's hugely damaging for the monarchy. No, I don't think so at all. I think it could go some small way into showing people that we are fun here in Britain. We do have a sense of humour. He's in the camp with at least three black people. Babatunde, I don't know who he is really. I think he's a comedian, I think. There's a lady called Charlene, who's one of the newsreaders here in England, and Scarlett. Now, I have to confess, I do not know who Scarlett is. I'm sorry. They're all having a great time. He has no qualms being with these people. I personally wouldn't either. As long as they didn't do something stupid, like pick up a snake or a tarantula and put it in my sleeping bag or whatever. No problem with them. But I must tell you about Owen before I forget. Owen he's only 23, bless him. He's an actor from a soap here called Hollyoaks. I don't watch it. But it's safe to say, I mean, he's obviously gone in there for the eye candy. He's a bit of eye candy for the ladies, you know what I mean? He was in the shower the other day, the outside shower in the jungle, and he took his top off, and I sat there going, whoo! But it's fair to say that while he's definitely blessed in the looks department, not quite so blessed in the brains department. And he doesn't know who Zara Phillips is. So when Mike was telling his story about how he met Zara, and everyone was enthralled by his story, but Owen, bless him, goes, "Who's Lara? Is she Australian?" And all the other campmates just looked at him like, seriously? It's so funny. Anyway, tonight Matt Hancock goes in. If you're not from Britain, Matt Hancock is a very divisive figure. He was in our government. He was very prominent during lockdown and the COVID crisis here. However, he's been a bit of a naughty boy. He was forced out of government for two reasons. One, because, well, no, I suppose it all links in together. He broke his own lockdown rules. He was on TV almost on a daily basis telling us to stay at home and socially distance and stay 2 meters apart from people and mask up and sanitize yourself until you have no more fingerprints, that kind of thing. Yet, on the quiet, he was actually having an affair behind his wife's back with another member, a female member of Parliament. which was caught on CCTV. And they definitely weren't socially distanced. They were having a bit of a smooch in his private office, although somebody, I don't know whether it was an accident or whether it was intentional, but somebody caught it on CCTV. So obviously, because he was disgraced, because he'd been cheating on his wife with another member of parliament, and because he broke his own damn rules, you can't preach to the public and not follow it yourself. So he was forced out of parliament. He's actually moved in with that member of parliament that he had an affair with. He actually left his wife and moved in with her. So he's absolutely disgraced here in Britain. Well, he's going into the jungle tonight. Yeah, half the country are in uproar about it. I'm not fussed either way. I think it'll make very good telly, if I'm honest. I can imagine a couple of people won't be happy to see him. Maybe Boy George, actually. He's quite opinionated, so if anyone's got anything to say, he'll say it to his face as well. He's brilliant. Anyway, so I've rattled on for quite some time now. Sorry this video is so long, but I obviously had a lot to say. So I will try and make some more videos when I get the time. But please know that I am okay. I haven't forgotten about you guys by any stretch, and I hope to be firing on all cylinders soon. So until then, take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.